So, let's talk about the new space race. Now, when you hear space race, you're probably picturing nations planting flags, right? Think again. This time it's a totally different ballgame. It's a high-stakes personal battle between two of the planet's most ambitious billionaires, and trust me, it's reshaping our entire future beyond Earth.
Yeah, the whole fight for the final frontier, it has completely changed. I mean, the players aren't governments anymore. They're these private titans with basically bottomless pockets and, let's be honest, colossal egos. And they're turning the cosmos into a massive, competitive, multi-trillion-dollar market.
And right at the heart of this new era, you've got two guys, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. This rivalry of theirs, it's so much more than just business. It's a fundamental clash of visions for what humanity's future in space is even supposed to look like.
So what do we call this new era? Well, it's got a name, New Space. And really, it's this massive shift where the rulebook from Silicon Valley, move fast, break things, disrupt everything, is being applied to the heavens. Space isn't just for exploration anymore. Oh, no. It is big, big business.
So how did we even get here? Well, it's kind of ironic, but this whole new age of private ambition was actually born from a national tragedy. You have to go back to February 1st, 2003. The Space Shuttle Columbia tragically disintegrated coming back to Earth, and all 7 astronauts were lost. That disaster it grounded the entire U.S. space program. And that created this huge vacuum, a massive opportunity for a whole new generation to jump in.
And who stepped into that void? Well, it was 2 internet millionaires who basically grew up obsessed with sci-fi. They looked at this slow, stagnant, government-run industry and thought, you know what? We can do this better. We can do it faster, and we can definitely do it cheaper. Now, even though they were both nerds who absolutely loved science fiction, their backstories couldn't be more different. You've got Musk, who had this pretty rough childhood in South Africa, and it kind of gave him this save-the-world hero complex. Then you have Bezos, who is inspired by Star Trek and the Apollo missions, and he's much more methodical, more deliberate. And these personalities, they would end up defining everything about how they tried to conquer space.
Okay, so Musk's approach was just pure, chaotic ambition. I mean, right after he sold PayPal, what does he do? He flies to Moscow in 2001 trying to buy a decommissioned Russian missile. His plan? To send mice to Mars. Seriously, the Russians thought he was a total joke. At one point, a chief engineer was so insulted he literally spat on Musk's shoes. So on the flight home, Musk just decides, fine, if I can't buy a rocket, I'll just build one myself.
Bezos, meanwhile, was the complete opposite. He was operating in total stealth mode. His company, Blue Origin, was just this little side project while he was busy building the Amazon empire. Nobody even knew about it until a journalist got a tip, drove out to this random warehouse, and, you're not going to believe this, literally dug through the garbage to find documents that laid out his whole plan for space tourism.
So these two very different styles set the stage for their first huge battle, the race to build a reusable rocket. See, they both knew that to really open up space for everyone, you couldn't just throw rockets away after one use. They had to land and fly again. And this whole thing set up a classic tortoise versus the hare showdown.
Musk, of course, was the hare. He just dumped his entire life savings into SpaceX and went full Silicon Valley, move fast and break things. And boy, did they break things. His first 3 Falcon 1 launches, all spectacular, fiery failures. He was right on the brink of total bankruptcy, with just enough cash left for one last shot. Then, on September 28, 2008, the 4th launch finally worked. SpaceX was saved.
Okay, so the race to actually land one of these rockets really came to a head in late 2015, and it was Bezos, the slow and steady tortoise, who struck first. In November, his company Blue Origin landed its New Shepard rocket after a quick hop to the edge of space. It was a world first. All the pressure was suddenly on Musk. But just 1 month later, SpaceX delivered something way, way bigger.
So after SpaceX pulls off their incredible landing, what does Bezos do? He goes on Twitter and posts, "Welcome to the club." On the surface, it sounds like he's congratulating him, right? But pretty much everyone saw it as a massive dig, super condescending, and that tweet, it basically ignited their public feud and put their rivalry on display for the whole world.
So to really get why this whole feud exploded, you have to understand a key technical difference. See, Bezos' rocket just did a little suborbital hop, up and down. Musk's Falcon 9 went all the way to orbit, which means it was flying way higher and thousands of miles per hour faster. Landing that thing was like trying to get a pencil to land perfectly on its end after dropping it from a skyscraper in a hurricane.
Everyone in the space world knew instantly that what SpaceX did was the real game changer.
And this wasn't just some petty fight between two rich guys. No way. Their competition sent absolute shockwaves through the entire global space industry, an industry that had been dominated by the exact same government players for decades. Just look at how brutal and fast this disruption was. Back in the 2000s, Europe's Ariane rocket pretty much owned the commercial launch market. We're talking 75%. Fast forward 2017, and SpaceX has completely flipped the script, grabbing over half the market for itself. There's this great story where the CEO of Airbus, a main backer of Ariane, said Musk once told him, straight up, "You don't know it yet, but you should stop Ariane, because you're already dead." Ouch.
So what happened to the old guard? Well, Europe was just way too slow, totally tangled up in bureaucracy. Russia? They lost their cash cow, that lucrative monopoly they had on taxiing NASA astronauts to the space station, the second SpaceX showed up. And then there's China. They saw what was happening with this American private model and were inspired. They launched their own new space industry, and it has massively accelerated their ambitions.
Okay, so this brings up the biggest question of all. Beyond all the competition, what kind of future are these two guys actually building for us? Because it turns out their ultimate long-term visions for humanity could not be more different.
Yeah, their philosophies are just worlds apart. On one hand, you have Musk, the sci-fi hero who wants to make humanity a multiplanetary species. His big goal is to colonize Mars, basically creating a backup drive for civilization. Then you have Bezos, the pragmatist. He wants to preserve Earth by moving all the polluting, heavy industry off-world into these giant orbiting space stations, essentially turning our planet into a beautiful residential park.
But for right now, the most real, tangible thing to come out of this race is space tourism. And if you want a ticket on Blue Origin's rocket for just a few minutes of floating around in weightlessness, well, you're going to have to shell out more than $200,000. So much for space being the common heritage of all humanity, huh?
The real battleground right now, though, is literally right above our heads. Both Musk and Bezos are in a flat-out race to build what are called mega constellations. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of satellites designed to beam internet down from space to every corner of the globe. Musk's is called Starlink, Bezos's is Project Cooper. The goal for both? To completely dominate the future of global communication. And this quote right here, it absolutely nails what's happening. It's a land grab, plain and simple. They're basically showing up in low Earth orbit, planting their stakes in the ground, and saying, "This is mine." And they're doing it in a place that, until now, was always thought of as belonging to everyone.
And you can probably guess, this totally unregulated rush is creating some huge problems. I mean, a more crowded sky means a much higher risk of collisions up there. And those collisions create even more dangerous space junk. We're already getting to the point where other rocket launches might have to literally wait for a gap to open up in Musk's satellite network just to get off the ground. It means we desperately need some kind of space traffic control, and fast.
So really, it all boils down to this one really profound question. There's a new gold rush happening, no doubt about it, and it's all being driven by private ambition. But can we, and should we, privatize something that has always belonged to everyone? Should the sky above all of us be controlled by just a handful of billionaires?
Because when you get right down to it, that's exactly what this new space race has become. It's a wild, unregulated frontier. The rules aren't being written by governments for the good of all of us. They're being written by the winners of a very personal rivalry. So yeah, welcome to the new Far West.